Sean Blumenrader with Big Hoss One Sauce, and you're listening to the best show on all things barbecue with my man, Greg Rempe.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. This show originating from Rock and Roll Hall of Fame City, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, the live fire, fun, and frivolity show. If you want to get in touch with me this evening, or if you don't know how to follow the show and you want that info, here's how you do it.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter. Now, for the last 14 years, I've told you on and off, if you want to subscribe to the newsletter, all you have to do is go to the website, look for the subscribe portion on the navigation top of the website, and then sign up for there. However, am I able to really tell you that you can do that at this point? Not really.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Why? Because while the new website is out, we are me are still having issues with the folks that I contracted being held captive, hostage. We're still working through some things on the interface and the navigation and all of that. They're not overly responsive, and by overly responsive, I mean hardly at all.
Get that big stuff out of here.
On the new website that is up, I am also going into the back end of WordPress and revamping some of the stuff because I don't want to wait. Can hardly get access to the cPanel. Nobody's answering questions. Again, I feel like I haven't fully been effed, but partially effed. I know you can't be semi-pregnant, or maybe you either are or you aren't, but I think I've been semi-effed on this one. But as my friend Sean Walchef says from Digital Hospitality and Restaurant Influencers podcast, you get what you pay for, right? So I didn't pay thousands and thousands of dollars because I was never going to make a website that I thought would require thousands and thousands of dollars of investment. I'm a podcast / live internet show. I need literally one page and then some links to be able to click on and then go to a Facebook page or a social media channel or subscribe to the podcast, show my show sponsors. Do I have that? Yeah. Is it great? It's not great. I'm giving them a little time before I start the weekly Don't Do Business with X company to do your website because they're Googleable. That's how I found them. So I will give them a little bit more time before we bring the heavy artillery to the show on a weekly basis. And then, as they say, beatings will commence until morale improves, or beatings will continue until morale improves. First they will start, then they will continue. So here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter. Coming up in about 11 minutes from now, the creator of How to Barbecue Right, Malcom Reed, and his monthly segment, of course. We'll talk a little bit about his most recent trip to Jamaica. I might try to pull a jerk chicken recipe out of him because I've had a few folks email me over the course of the day saying, hey, we know Malcolm got to Jamaica and I'm looking for a jerk chicken recipe. So Malcolm always good for a recipe amongst other things. And then after Malcolm, it's been a while since we've talked cigars, so I will light up the Barbecue Central Show's official cigar expert, Mr. Jonathan, from the Cigar Authority's podcast and live show. Aside from seeing what's smoking well, going through a little Cigar of the Year from Cigar Authority, I figured we would start making his next few segments, appearances on this show, more of a cigar school. So for those of you that are just getting into it, or you're thinking about getting into it, or maybe you're a full-blown aficionado like I am, and you don't mind hearing about the inner workings, we'll talk about cigars specifically, and that would be the inner workings, things that make up a cigar. And tonight we will be talking about the wrapper, which a lot of people think is the most important part. So we'll talk to Mr. Jonathan about the wrapper as we close it out. Then we'll move to the second hour, where we will find none other than a YouTube sensation across the nation and the globe, my pal, not yours, Sam the Cooking Guy. Sam missed last month, so we'll see what he was up to as he was trying to get pictures pressed through on his most recent book and how that process has been going. He's also released a rub into the market, the BFF, which I believe is an SPG, in case you didn't know. So now you have your FYI. A lot of acronyms here in the last 35 seconds. So Sam, the Cooking Guy, in his normal segment. Then we will close out the show with the owner, creator of Combustion Inc., Chris Young, who I think might be the smartest guy in live fire right now. Academically smart. Smart, yes, just as a whip, but also academically smart, a creator, an inventor, and that predictive thermometer is doing really well. So we'll talk to him about all of that, and that will close the show this evening. So you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and the Snapper Snaps. We say good evening to those of you watching through the video streaming platforms of Facebook and Twitch, which can be found at /BBQ Central Show. Also, for those of you watching on YouTube /RD Rempe, we welcome you this evening. And yes, there is audio on Clubhouse if you prefer to hear us and not see us. And we have a poll question this week. How much would you spend on a flat top cooker? $300 to $500? Okay, hold on a second. I changed this question 5 different times. $300 to $499. $500 to $699, $700 to $1,000, or there is no budget when it comes to barbecue, dude.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Currently, 100% of you are saying $300 to $499. It's putting some other cookers' success in jeopardy as we take the straw poll here at the Barbecue Central Show, so we'll keep tabs on that. We will ask guests as I remember through the course of the evening as well, and we'll update it, of course, at the top of the second hour and as we close out the show, again, if I remember. Now, keeping with that YouTube question of the week, whether you like it or not, flat top cookers are making a run at the rest of the market right now. 2 weeks ago today, Weber released their unit. And the very next day, it was Traeger trotting out their Flat Rock. You might recall we had Mike Lang from Another Pint Please, who was connected in with the Weber folks, talking about his experience with the Weber flat top product. And then, of course, Wednesday, the day after that, there was no shortage of social media videos being pulled out with the unboxings of the Flat Rock, as Traeger has that squirreled away to release on a certain day and keep it private and all this. Look, all this adds to what is now a growing number of options in this particular segment, and I believe, in fact, I know it, there are others yet to come here in 2023. So my question to all of you listening live tonight, and you're answering it this, but of course, to the podcasters as you listen in convenience, are there too many options? However, it's what are you willing to pay for a flat top unit? Because now we are in a day and age where there is a substantial range in price, much like we see in pellet cookers over the past few years. I think there might have been a Pit Boss unit that just came out earlier this year that was $350 for a pellet cooker. And you can scale all the way up to a Mac 2-star General pellet cooker, which runs about $3,500. Hell, the Traeger Timberline from the end of last year retails at $4,000. So as we begin to scale up in the flat top options, when is too much for you, the consumer? Blackstone, as we had mentioned last week, has roughly 80% of the market right now, but it will be interesting to see which one of these other units or OEMs are able to claw back some of that market share here over the next year or so, as more and more flat tops are being brought into the backyards across America. So please, let me know where you are on this topic, especially if you're a podcaster, since you can't take part in the live poll that is going on right now, where 89% of you now are saying $300 to $499, and 11% of you are saying there is no budget for barbecue, which I believe our pal Doug Scheiding from Rogue Cookers mentioned that when he was on last week. There's no budget in barbecue. We'll see about that as the poll progresses through the evening. Malcom Reed is ready to go. Before we do that, I will talk to you about Pits and Spits, the best looking, best cooking smokers and grills. Pits and Spits offering a full family of products, including traditional offset smokers, wood pellet grills, charcoal grills, travel grills, combination pits, fire pits, and much more. Could they be bringing a freestanding flat top? Ryan Zabrell is set to come on this show in a matter of weeks, so we'll ask him. Pits and Spits has been one of the only American fabrication shops that's focused on smokers and grills for almost 40 years. So why is that important? They're able to put an emphasis on quality and design. They have locally sourced materials and unmatched attention to detail. From the fully welded barrels to the heavy gauge steel, they bring both function and beauty to life. Pits and Spits builds every product with the intention that it will get passed down for generations to come. Whether you're into competition barbecue or you're just into backyard barbecue and grilling, you can amp up the level of your game by heading over to Pits and Spits and looking for a product that will outfit you the best. Check them out, pitsandspits.com, all spelled out. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central, and use that promo code BBQ Central for a free spice pack with your order of $500 or more. So you know if you buy a pit, you're going to get that free spice pack right off the bat. Again, the promo code at checkout is BBQ Central, and the special link, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. And as I had mentioned, Pits and Spits owner Ryan Zabrell set to rejoin the show here in a matter of weeks, so we look forward to chatting with him. But before we chat with Ryan, we'll talk with Malcom Reed from How to BBQ Right. So stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com. Your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase. That's COOKIN, cookinpellets.com. And you can also peruse and see what other great products they have to add a little smoky goodness to whatever it is that you might be up to. My next guest tonight, the creator of How to BBQ Right and the pitmaster of Killer Hogs competition team. You see him here on the show once a month, right here in this spot on the first Tuesday. It's Malcom Reed. Hey, Malcom.
What's up, Greg? How's it going?
YouTube poll of the week. How much would you spend on a flat top cooker? $300 to $499, $500 to $699, or $700 to $1,000? Or there is no budget when it comes to barbecue.
I'm in the 300 to 499 group there.
91% of people voting
okay.
currently are in that majority of thinking. 9% are making up there is no budget when it comes to barbecue. We're going to hit on this towards the tail end of my agenda here, but why not talk about it since we've just mentioned it? Flat top cooking is not new to us here in the live fire community, maybe to the everyday ham and egger out there that might have a gas grill, maybe also have a charcoal grill. They're getting introduced to pellet cookers now. And now you're seeing quite a emergence of freestanding flat top cookers. You've seen accessories to sit on top of gas grills or charcoal grills, but now they're their own unit, made popular by Blackstone, of course, who I think at last count had towards 80% of the market share. Is this a fad, or do you think this will be a ongoing and accepted vessel to cook on, and it will be something that people add in addition to other cookers?
I think people are adding them to their cooking arsenal, man. I think they're going to stick around. It's too easy at that price point to have one on your back porch along with your grill, and they're fun to cook on.
When you see flat tops that are approaching $1,000, no names please, do you think that it's a cash grab of sorts, or do you think that there will be an accepted strata of cookers like we see in some of the other fired cooking vessels?
I think, in the grilling industry, there's always different levels of grills that are out there. I mean, you look at the propane grills, there's the big box models that you can go get in that 300 to 500 range, and then you've got some of these fancy built-ins that are in the thousands of dollars. So I think there's a place in between where you're going to see different grades of them come in. I mean, it's just to be expected. I think what a lot of them did was wait and see how it caught on, and then they realized they were behind, so they had to catch up. So that's why you're seeing some of these come on later.
You're somebody who has mentioned freely on the How to BBQ Right podcast, which comes out weekly, that you are a Blackstone owner. You use it. You were just talking about rolling hot dogs around on the Blackstone and having a pretty good time at that. What are the shortcomings that you find when using them? What sticks out to you, if anything?
The only thing I could say, would be a shortcoming would be you got to keep the thing clean. So you can't just, when you get through cooking, you can't just walk off and leave it. So you don't want to leave it uncovered. You want to get all the grease off, get it slicked back over, take care of the cooking service, or the thing's going to rust on you. So, and we keep them outdoors, so they're in the elements pretty much, unless you got some kind of indoor cooking, kitchen or something outside. But to me, that's the only thing that I see that's a challenge with them, is taking that time and taking care of that cooking surface.
Have you ever had an issue with the unit blowing out?
I haven't on my Blackstone. Now,
you ever heard that from anybody else?
No, I haven't. I mean, just like any gas grill, I mean, those elements don't last forever. So it's to be expected, especially at that price point. I mean, that's what I think. Like if you stepped up and you bought a more expensive flat top, I would expect better quality out of it. So maybe you get some longevity. But I think, with them blowing out, it's probably wear and tear. I mean, you got to look, wasp, dirt daubers, all kinds of stuff like that. It gets in those grill elements. They stop it up. They clog it up. People probably aren't maintaining them, taking good care of them. So that's what's going to cause them to fail.
Well, what I mean by blowing out, and I had never heard this. I mean, as I had stated a couple minutes ago, this isn't a new way of cooking to us, while it seems to be getting a lot of traction right now. I'm hearing that you'll be cooking on it, and then like the wind can sneak underneath it and literally blow the flame out. Have you ever had that happen to you?
I haven't had it on a Blackstone. I haven't. Yep. I've had it happen on like a crawfish cooker or, a burner with an eye. And a lot of them make wing guards. I do it with all my grills, try to position it to where it's not in the wind. I don't care if it's a pellet grill, a gas grill, charcoal grill, whatever. It affects the draw on grills, and it can blow it. I can see that, Do
you think Blackstone has become big enough in the market where they are now the Kleenex of this segment? Do you think people might just offhandedly say, I got a Blackstone, but really they have a Next Grill or a Blue Rhino or one of the other many brands that are out there?
Oh, definitely. I think it's kind of like Googling something. It's the term people use when they talk about flat tops. I mean, how many times do you say people say we're going to cook on the flat top? I hear Blackstone. We're going to fire up the Blackstone. Griddle, maybe, because I think it goes back to that Waffle House or, diner type cooking where they're doing it all on a flat top. But mainly I hear Blackstone or Griddle or something like that.
How did you do those hot dogs on the Blackstone when you were doing them the other day?
I opened a couple beers. I sat there with a stool in front of them and just kept it one burner on low. And I had a big, long spatula, and I just rolled them with that spatula about every minute, simulating like a hot dog roller you would see at a convenience store or ballpark.
Malcom Reed human hot dog roller.
That's it. That's it. The manual hot dog roller.
You ever give any
I'll tell you
thought?
what, they were fantastic.
Oh, I mean, I'm not one that makes a point out of buying hot dogs off of the rollers. However, if you get into the store at the right time, I mean, you can tell when one's been on there for a week or when one is at perfection, and it's few and far between. But when it's at perfection, there are a few hot dogs that are cooked better than on the hot rollers for whatever reason. They make them for homes, too. I should get you one for Christmas. Oh, yeah. Have you ever thought about just cutting them in half on the flat top and then like putting a little weight on them and browning them up that way, and then maybe a little American cheese in the cut as you put it in the bun?
See, that's the only way I'd ever had them on a flat surface like that. We called them hot dog sandwiches. We would split the little cheap red wieners and make, you get two of those, butterfly them out, put the cheese on top, toast the bread, and you got a hot dog sandwich.
Delicious. We used to cook them that way when I worked the halfway house at a golf club up here, and they were huge, maybe 1 pound hot dogs because, members are overpaying to be at this hoity-toity golf club anyway, so you got to overcharge the members every chance you get. And they were always cut in half, always cheese on it. I mean, they were absolutely delicious. Eat 4 or 5 during a shift, and of course you want to throw up after the fact, but every one was better than the next while you were eating them. Let's transition if possible. Malcom Reed and family are once again, or at least Rochelle, off to Jamaica. Food inspirations that you brought back this time, if any?
I tried a few things this time that was different. We went to the Bahamas this year. We didn't go to Jamaica.
All right.
So we went to a different island, and we got out and we explored the island some. And in Nassau, where the island we were on, they have this area called Fish Fry. And it's, if you think of kind of like, if you've seen stands, like food stands in foreign countries, it's like one area where there's a ton of them. That's what this was. And they all do different stuff, but most of them have, fried fish of some sort to come out of the ocean. They have the jerk chicken. They have all your normal stuff you'd see. Well, I tried a fried snapper. It was like a whole fish, and it was amazing. I mean, I don't know if I could duplicate it that good. It was excellent. A big one that was different for me was their version of mac and cheese. They serve it with everything in the Bahamas. It's like a side dish that comes with every dish you order, but it's more like a square casserole macaroni and cheese. It's not the typical mac and cheese that we would say. So that was pretty unique. The other takeaway is yes, it's definitely baked, cheese all over the top, but it's creamy, yet it's firm. You can cut it with a fork. It's standalone. It'd be perfect mac and cheese for deep frying.
Oh,
if you've ever heard of that.
Yes, sir.
It would be the perfect vessel. But probably the best thing I had was conch salad. And I don't know if I could duplicate that. It's just super fresh. It's almost like a ceviche. Conchs, the shellfish, they pull it out. It's got a big muscle. They chop it up real fine and mix it with a bunch of fresh ingredients. And it is excellent.
You're a pretty adventurous eater?
I would say so. Now, I'm not going to eat mayonnaise straight off a spoon, but I'll try a lot of stuff.
Is that what makes you adventurous? Because then I'm pretty friggin' adventurous, I think. I've done that quite a bit.
No.
I need to ask you about jerk chicken recipes. Now, again, we're holding Jamaica to the side because you're in the Bahamas, but I guess a lot of people thought that that's where you were, and they were looking to get a Malcom Reed-inspired jerk chicken recipe that they might be able to try this weekend.
Yeah, man, for me, when I go to the Caribbean, that's what I look for. I love jerk chicken. It reminds me of barbecue chicken back home, just on a spicier, more flavorful level. Now, most of the places there use pimento wood to cook down and to cook the chicken, so we don't really have that here in the States, or at least I've never sourced it. So I usually use hickory wood or something like that. But to me, the jerk is all in the marinade. Jerk chicken, it's spicy. It's citrusy. It has some soy sauce in it. It has, just these island flavors, a lot of fresh ingredients, onion, a little bit of olive oil to balance it out. But you think of it as like a spicy kind of savory marinade, citrusy marinade. And their chicken goes in that marinade often for overnight, at least 4 to 6 hours. Typically, they cut the pieces of chicken up, individual pieces. I have seen it done halves, but never really whole. And they started out over hot coals, but most of the time they cook it on like a barrel smoker, not an offset smoker, just coals in the bottom of one side of a barrel. And they'll start the chicken out skin down to get kind of a crispness going on with it, with all those seasonings. And they usually don't season it with anything else. It's just the marinade. Cook it skin down, cut some slits in it so the marinade gets down in there, char it a little bit, move it over to the side. And it's a slow process. They're not fast cooking jerk chicken. And that's pretty much all there is to it. It's really easy. I know I've got a marinade recipe on my website, but you could probably just Google jerk chicken marinade and it would come up with the ingredients that you need to blend it up and make it. But just plan on soaking whole chicken or wings or your favorite parts, having your 2-zone fire, starting it out over the hot side, moving it to the cool side, cooking it till it's done, serve it with some peas and rice. That's all there is to it.
When you're traveling, are you ever approached by the properties? Maybe they know who you are and say, hey, we'd love to have you back because you're just on rest and relaxation mode there, but we'd love to have you back to do 50% of a cooking class or a Malcom Reed appearance to do a collab with our chef or something along these lines. And then the other half of the week, you guys can just chill it on the beaches. Have you ever been approached about doing something like that?
Never been approached about that. Now, I have had several of the chefs come up and talk to me and kind of recognize employees, watch videos, even down in Jamaica and the Bahamas. Yeah. It was crazy. I had a lot of people coming up just saying, hey, man, we've seen you on videos. Are you the TikTok guy? I get the TikTok guy now, not the YouTube guy.
Really?
But yeah, it was this time. It was more employees probably than people that were at the actual resort we stayed at. So I was kind of shocked by that.
I follow a couple folks on Instagram, and they appear to be in the live fire industry quite a bit, and they seem to do quite a bit of traveling around and cooking for some pretty big names for folks that are across industries, celebrity actors, pro football players, any things like this. Do you ever get contacted being home in HQ to do private cooks for famous people of various industries and stuff like that?
Not at home. We've been asked to go to do some events and stuff. I've done some NHRA drivers. I've done a few football players, just going out and doing some stuff like that. Actually took a grill to Ja Morant. I don't know if you know who he is, but
do I know who he is? Former point guard of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Hey, I don't know about former. He's taking a little pause.
Yikers. Yeah, that's pretty that's unfortunate, but we're not a sports show. Is that something you would do more of, or not? Is that really not your thing?
If I have time, that's kind of my thing. Schedule's usually tight, but if I have time, that's what I tell people, man. If you're willing to get on the schedule and let's work something out, I'm happy to do some stuff like that. I enjoy it. I enjoy cooking for people and, meeting folks and going out and doing things. I love that travel idea. That's something me and Rochelle have talked about. We get ready to retire. Let's just go half the time cook at a resort and half the time relax on the beach. Could be a lot worse.
Malcom Reed joining us here on the show. How to BBQ Right, of course, is the website. And if you're not subscribed to him over on YouTube, make sure you do that. And on TikTok, because he's Malcom Reed, the TikTok guy now, although 1.51 million of you are subscribed on YouTube. So we're a couple months away at this point from one of the biggest competitions during the course of a competition year, which, of course, is Malcom in May, or Memphis in May. Have you gotten confirmation the Killer Hogs is in for 2023?
We did last Friday. We were one of the lucky ones that got in. So
yeah,
we are pumped. We're ready to go, man. I'm actually nervous. I didn't know if we were going to make the cut or not. I think it was 40 teams that didn't make it. So,
40?
I hate it for those people. Yeah.
Oh, any names that you can mention? Or that are notable?
I haven't really heard any, except for a buddy of mine that cooks with Tennessee Mojo. That was kind of, I just saw he posted it on Facebook that he didn't make it, and I didn't know that. So that kind of sucks for them, man. I hate that because he won rib category with two contests ago. So that shows you how tight they were cutting.
Did they let the guys from Blues Hog back in, or did they find their way to keep them out?
I imagine I'm sure they were automatic.
Yeah. Wow. Well, do you have any idea what the criteria was as they start to peruse applications? I mean, I would imagine if I get your application, you're a pretty easy ringer in, given your whole social media presence and success within the industry. But others would probably be chomping at the bit a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know if they looked at that or if it was like a first come, first serve thing. Because we were like, soon as they released the application, like when they mentioned it was live, we went ahead and signed up and paid our money. So they've had our money since back in November. So, and I'm sure all the teams that probably went ahead, paid, not knowing if they were going to have it, not knowing if it was going to be at Tomley Park, all that was up in the air. So we just did it on faith and got lucky. So.
All right. Well, it could be Malcolm in May as the contest ends up concluding here in 2023, but we'll keep tabs on that. Wanted to ask you a quick question here as we got a couple minutes left. I've gotten a couple emails over the past couple weeks, notably one from Jason Kaplan at the Howard Stern Show, who's going through a backyard renaissance, if you will. So he's going to lay down some patio, and at this point, I think he's at least gandering or toying with the idea of building an outdoor kitchen in some form or fashion. And I know you had talked about that a little bit in your last podcast as well. So when you're considering it, I assume, number one, it's budget. So let's start there. Do you think that there's no matter what, it's going to be X amount if you're going to be doing some kind of an outdoor kitchen with cement and built-ins and cabinetry and all this other stuff?
I definitely think that's where everybody starts with. I mean, you got to have a budget in mind that you're willing to spend and get somebody to give you some quotes on what it's going to cost. I mean, that's what we're going through. We kind of set out with the budget that we were comfortable with, and it's always going to go over. Have you ever done anything on a budget and it didn't go over?
So
but at least it's a start.
Would you say that if you're not into $10,000 of doing something like this, then it's something you might want to reconsider or take another year and save your thin guilders?
Man, I guess, I think a lot of it depends on how much you're willing to do yourself. If you're a handy type person and you can build, the structure, or you can pour the mix up the quickcrete and make you a slab or whatever. But it's really going to depend on size, Greg. I mean, when you look at it, when you go to adding and having to spend money on dirt work, on getting concrete poured, on the structure, on cabinetry, on an island or whatever, you've spent $10,000 easy.
Yeah.
For, a 10 by 15 space. I mean, that's not even a very big space really. So it's easy. I mean, I would say you're talking outdoor kitchen with the equipment and everything. You better you want it nice. 2025, I would think would be that would be bare bones probably.
This is a subject we should be digging deeper on. Maybe I can get your counsel off air, and we might be able to think of a segment or two to do here in the ongoing months. But I certainly appreciate your insight here as we get going on that. Of course, this is Malcom Reed from How to BBQ Right. You can follow him on all the social media channels at the same handle. Malcolm, always appreciate the time, and we will see you again in April.
Hey, Greg, first quarter's over, man. It's flying
by.
No doubt.
There it is. Malcom Reed right there. HowToBBQRight.com, and he's right. 2023 rapidly. He wanted to say 2023 rapidly coming to a close, but he didn't want to steal my thunder, and it's Q1 rapidly coming to a close instead. At HowToBBQ Right on all social media. Mr. Jonathan is ready to go to school us up on what's smoking well at Two Guys, and we'll also jump into the deconstruction of a cigar as we go to Cigar School. But first, it's Primo Grills. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that you can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking, very important to both professional and backyards alike. It's the best way to manage a fire, cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. And a Primo grill and the game-changing oval design, the shape gives you the ability to execute a two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. Really, when you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to cook on a Primo cooker. so you're only limited by your culinary imagination. As we talked to the owner, Nick Bauer, last week, there are some new accessories coming out. There's the griddle insert that will be fitting across all of the different sizes of Primos, so be on the lookout for that at your nearest dealer. And, of course, there's the brand new Primo X XL, which is 25% bigger than the XL. So if you were looking for a little bit more space, Primo XXL is the one you want to check it out. As I had mentioned, only sold through dealers, so go to primogrill.com, find a dealer near you, and then look at all the different oval shapes and pick the one that best fits you. Buy all the accessories because you know you're going to get them anyway. And then you're off and running. Watch all the YouTube videos to help you get up and running. And join their Facebook groups. Follow them on Instagram as well. primogrill.com. I will be at the 2023 HPB Expo this coming weekend. I will see Nick there. They are exhibiting. I will take pictures of the brand new cooker and all the other stuff that they bring. So stay tuned for that. Bunch of bonus content. Let's talk cigars next with Mr. J from the Cigar Authority's podcast and Two Guys Smoke Shop. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And we thank Malcom Reed for joining us last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard, where you can monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. You can connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or you can connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because Fireboard fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call them 816-945-2232. If I'm not mistaken, in the chat, Canadian barbecue and grilling celeb, Kinger, the man who collaborated with me to bring you Booze Tea. Yes, you remember that? We talked about it on the run-up to One of the Best Moments show a couple weeks ago. So glad to see Kinger back in the mix. He's still cooking over live fire. So if you follow him on Twitter, or if you don't, you should, because he's a brilliant follower. Selling his ceramic cooker, he said in the chat, by the way. That's shocking. Hey, I was a little ahead of myself on the sound effects there. My next guest is a well-known figure in the cigar community, one of the co-hosts of the ever-popular Cigar Authority podcast, now celebrating its 13th year of live shows, almost as long as this show, but 2 years shy. However, he is a wealth of knowledge, and he's widely regarded as one of the foremost experts when it comes to cigars. Through the weekly podcast, he and his co-hosts are the foremost experts when it comes to the cigar area, about business, about manufacturing, latest trends, all that good stuff. And he has earned the title here on the show as the official cigar expert for the Barbecue Central show. We race to the hotline, and we welcome back our pal, Mr. Jonathan. Mr. J.
Yeah, baby.
What is smoking good in the Two Guys Smoke Shop right now?
The Bandolero Sagaces is smoking unbelievable. You got Garofalo Sun-Grown Torpedo. In fact, anytime a manufacturer offers a torpedo, they will... Do you not hear me?
Oh, I can, but I'm going to disagree. But go ahead.
All right. You made me so nervous right there. Anytime a manufacturer offers a torpedo, that's a guarantee that the roller that made that cigar has 10 years more experience than the guy rolling the Toro right next to it in the box, right there. So you're going to get a more consistent draw. You're going to get a more even burn. And because torpedoes, and I can tell already that you don't like them, because torpedoes sell slower than the rest of the line, as we're coming out of our little cigar boom, those torpedoes have degassed a little bit more and they smoke a little smoother.
I just don't like the shape. You know what? So tell me where I'm wrong on this. I'm immediately throwing the outline to the wind, which is what we usually do here on the show anyway. I got a box of El Baton from J.C. Newman. Shout out, J.C. Newman. Started in Cleveland, by the way, right here. They sent me bellicoso, so I think that's a fancy term for torpedo. It's got the nipple on the one end that I want to put in my mouth. Now, nipple in my mouth in any other circumstance, no problem with that. But in this case, for cigars, I'm not a huge fan. So here's what I've done to try and fix my mind issue that I have with this. Straight cutter, cut once, cut twice, then deep V cut, boom, on top of that. So it really gets me closer to a Robusto than a Bellicosa, a torpedo. Am I ruining it for you?
No. You're not ruining it. You're just wasting an awful lot of time on the cutting. You just snip it just like you would a Robusto or a Toro. If you want, especially if you have a thicker ring gauge cigar, let's say you have a 60 ring gauge torpedo, you can cut that at a 50 ring gauge and have a 50 ring gauge in your mouth, and then get the complexity of the additional filler tobaccos in that 60 ring gauge. And so people that are wondering, what is a ring gauge is 1/64th of 1 inch. So a 64 ring gauge is exactly 1 inch across in diameter.
Now, I do the cutting twice with the straight cutter because I have a Nick Perdomo straight. It's got the backstop on it. So I can only go so deep because I don't trust myself and not cut off the whole frickin' cap. And now we've got an unraveling mess. So I do cut it twice because I can only go so deep with the backstop.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
Do you have a deep V cutter?
Well, yeah, because then after the two straight cuts with the Perdomo, I go deep V on top of it. But that one is a good one.
Yeah, you could cut out the Perdomo. If you got it like a Calibri Deep V, or
I do.
Zycar used to make a really decent one. You could just V cut it and be done. One cut and you're done.
All right, well, maybe I'll try that tomorrow as I smoke another El Baton just to make sure that I'm loving each and every one of them, which I happen to be, which is nice since it was free.
Those are smoking great right now. That was on my list to say. And also the West Tampa, Rick Rodriguez, he used to be a higher up in CAO. They sold. He went off and did some other shit and then came back into the industry. And this guy studied under some of the who's who when it comes to blending. He's in a small little factory in Nicaragua, and he is the rising tide that's raising not only all the ships in the cigar industry, all the boutique guys are all like, how is this guy coming out with blends that are this good this early on in his career, in quotes? But he's also has elevated that factory's production and is teaching them a thing or two, which is pretty interesting.
Now, are you a fan of the black or the white or the Attic series, or regardless, everything is great?
Wow, you did your homework. I am a huge fan of the black, and the Attic series is absolutely box worthy. If you find a retailer that has the Attic series, it's a 12 or a 4. I think it's a 14 count box. Well worth it. It's whatever. It's like $130. Absolutely worth it. And those cigars will stand the test of time when it comes to aging. If you're not close to a brick and mortar that carries it, go to the number 2 guyscigars.com and grab them while you can, because they are in stock at last check over there. Mr. J, last year there was concern that there was going to be sizable price increases across the board. And I'm wondering, as we are now into Q1, at the end of Q1 here in 2023, if we will see price increases yet again. Without question. Yeah, the increases are coming by way of shipping costs, and a lot of the shipping costs have to do with boxes. There's still a lot of them are still being made in China, and you've got to fill an entire container and bring them over. And even people like Nick Perdomo that make their own boxes and stamps his own hinges, he still has to get those raw materials shipped to him. And those shipping costs, along with shipping the cigars from countries like Nicaragua, Honduras, Dominican Republic, where you used to be able to take up the additional space in a commuter flight, those commuter flights have reduced dramatically, and a lot of people have opted for slow boating, and then you get stuck in the marina waiting to get those cigars off the boat and onto the mainland. So all that costs money. The votes are in, Mr. J, in the 2022 Cigar Authority Cigar of the Year is the Montosa Maduro in Toro size. Now, I've actually had a number of these. Big fan. Both Toro and Robusto both smoke really good for me. And I was
surprised, maybe shocked that the winner of this honor is a sub $7 cigar. Were you surprised?
Yes and no. I know a little bit more about the behind the scenes stuff, and there were only a handful of cigars in there that were going to be able to handle the opening order, and Montosa was able to handle that opening order. The one thing I got wrong, I think that we got wrong, is the size. Although the Toro is great, and the entire lineup was all Toros because those were what were available from all those 7 manufacturers. The short Robusto is a little thicker. And because that company is new to producing cigars in the United States, they don't know all the dirty tricks that people who make cigars for the US or New World cigars do, which is a lot of times put some bullshit filler in to make the ring gauge thicker. In their case, they're using whatever the flavorful tobacco is that makes the Toro and the Robusto taste so good, and they're just using more of it in the short Robusto. It's the best one in the line without question.
Can we go to cigar school?
Let's do it.
All right. Class is in session, folks. The professor of cigar schooling is Mr. Jonathan here from the Cigar Authority's podcast. So I figured maybe over the next couple segments we would break down what actually makes up a cigar. And tonight we will talk about the wrapper. So before we dive into that portion, just from a high level, can you break down the components of how a cigar is made up?
So a cigar has essentially 3 levels of components. You have the outside wrapper, you have the binder, and you have the filler tobaccos. And as you are building a cigar from the ground up, where those filler tobaccos come from are going to impart different flavors, and where on the plant those come from are going to impart different levels of strength and aroma and also combustion. So low on the plant, you have the least amount of aroma, the least amount of flavor, but you have great combustion. You get into the middle part of the plant, you've got a lot of aroma happening, you've got decent combustion, very little strength. And when you get into the higher part of the plant, the higher third, you're dealing with flavor and strength. And that's where the balancing act on a cigar is. So for some people, they will smoke a cigar that's a little stronger than what they're comfortable with because they love the flavor. And the reason they love the flavor is there are some higher primings in that cigar. So often to get better flavor, you've got to put up with a little bit more strength.
So we're going to work from the outside in here and talk about the wrapper. Obviously, this is what catches the eye of the consumer right off the bat. It's the most refined looking portion, I would imagine. But tell me about why the wrapper is the wrapper and what types are being used by cigar makers today.
So the outside wrapper of a cigar is, one, it has to be aesthetically pleasing. So it needs to be fairly blemish free, or in the case of a more expensive cigar, you get above $10, you're going to be looking for flawless or better as far as the wrapper goes. You got guys like Perdomo that'll take his wrappers and put them in a bourbon barrel and age them for an additional 2 fermentations to even out the color so they look even better. So the wrapper is the thing that you choose your cigar with your eyes. Meaning the very, very light wrappers. Or some people say, oh, I only smoke Maduro, or I only smoke sun-grown. So those are the 3 major types of wrapper. You've got Ecuadorian or actual Connecticut shade. Ecuador, they grow the tobacco just out in the open, and there's natural cloud cover, so it causes the tobacco to grow much lighter in color and thinner. In Connecticut, USA, very expensive tobacco, and they put cheesecloth and they grow it literally under shade, and so it causes it to grow much thinner. You can sometimes tell American Connecticut shade because it often still has a little bit of chlorophyll in it, and you'll see it's still a little on the claro side, or double claro they call it, which is the Candela, the green wrapper. That you'll see some greenish hue to it.
Are there any unique or lesser known wrapper varieties that you believe are underappreciated in the cigar industry?
There's Brazilian Arpiaco, which is not used a lot probably the most famous example right now is Skip Martin. If you look at any of his intemperance, if it's intemperance BA, the BA stands for Brazilian Arapiaca. It's a very sweet, almost chocolatey kind of taste, and it's very brindled looking on the ugly side, but much like Connecticut broadleaf, ugly wrapper, but delicious. A lot of sweetness.
Mr. Jonathan joining us here on the show from the Cigar Authority podcast and over at the retail shop, Two Guys Smoke Shop. How do wrapper leaves interact with the filler and binder components of a cigar to create a balanced smoking experience?
So the first thing you have to know about wrappers and binders is they have to work in opposition. So if you have a very thin outside wrapper, you're going to have a thicker binder because you need to have the combustion of the two leaves working with each other. So if you have a thicker outside wrapper, like a dark, thick, oily Maduro, you're going to have a much thinner binder. The binder is probably the only leaf where it really doesn't matter what direction it's facing, whether the tips are forward or the tips are back, because they're typically lower primings. They're just there for aiding in the combustion of the outside wrapper. The outside wrapper, it matters greatly the direction that it goes and whether or not the shiny side is out. They'll always put the shiny side out, and they'll put the stem structure of the leaf on the inside because, again, you buy cigars with your eyes. So if you saw the vein structure of the outside leaf on the outside, you'd be turned off right away.
Generally speaking, how durable is a wrapper?
That's going to boil down to the thickness of it. So in the case of shade-grown wrappers, very delicate, very thin. Cameroon, same thing, very delicate, very thin. You start getting into sun-grown, especially in Nicaragua, sun-grown or Maduro, much thicker, much better for activities like golf, which, believe it or not, beat the ever-loving snot out of wrappers because you're picking it up and you're putting it down. You're picking it up. You're putting it in the little golf clips on the golf cart that everybody forgets. Tip for your listeners, clip your little clip on your golf bag because the only time you're not holding the cigar is when you're swinging the club.
Right.
And when you get back to your bag to put your club in, there's your cigar and there's your clip.
Pro tip. There's a pervasive thought that all the flavor comes from the wrapper. Wives' tale or mostly true?
100% wrong.
Wow.
The outside wrapper can impart some sweetness. It can impart some dryness, but by and large, you're looking at it is 1/6 or 15% of the overall structure of the cigar. So most of your flavor is going to come from the inside tobaccos and what primings that is and how much of it there is. So let's say all cigars are 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, roughly. A third Ligero or high primings, a third middle primings, and a third low primings. The high primings are going to give you your flavor. The middle primings are going to give you your aroma, and the low primings are going to give you your combustion. And that's just a very basic bitch explanation of it.
Are there any special things, steps, or whatever taken to ensure the integrity of the wrapper during the rolling process?
Yeah, they'll wet them down pretty good so that they get the elasticity back in the leaf. And a good roller will give you an outstanding stretch on the wrapper, which is going to bring out a beautiful sheen to it. You really can showcase that on, you get a higher end cigar like an Atabey or a Byron in those lighter hues, and you look at that cigar under the light and you can see the sheen, and now you know that was a professional roller that really did a good job of stretching it.
What else do we need to know or understand about the wrapper that the common person might not be aware of, or have we covered everything?
Wrappers dry out first. So if you have thinner wrappers, if you're somebody that really enjoys a mild cigar and you like Connecticut shade, you've got to really take care of that cigar big time prior to the cut. Whereas a darker cigar, a sun-grown, Maduro, those can withstand being sat out. In fact, I'm on vacation this week from the shop, and last week I took out 2 boxes of my Aladinos, 1 Corona and 1 Robusto, and I put them on top of the humidor so that the total cigar could dry out a little bit because I find that they smoke a little better drier. Same with this Perdomo Firecracker, sun-grown, and it just smokes a little bit better on the drier side, right around 50%. So those wrappers will be able, they're not going to split when I cut them. This one, I actually forgot my cutter, so I had to pick the cap off with my fingernail. No damage to it whatsoever. They can withstand the abuse of being dried out. Connecticut shade, you've got to keep that at 65%. Even in those particular ones, you can even go as high as 69%. And that's just going to keep them supple and stop them from splitting when you go to make the cut.
Wrapper school is now over, and we appreciate Mr. Jonathan teaching us all about the wrapper, and we will dig into the binder next time he is on. If you like what he's talking about, catch him live every Saturday, noon to 2, over on the Cigar Authority's podcast, which you can find on YouTube, or just subscribe to any podcast platform, and you can listen along with me as I do at my convenience. And you can find him here on the show, spreading all the cigar knowledge that he has to the barbecue and grilling world. Mr. J, always appreciate the time, and we will talk to you again soon.
Thanks so much, Greg.
You got it. Mr. J. So the retail side, the number 2guyscigars.com. So if you're not into going to a brick and mortar store for whatever reason, although Two Guys is very pro brick and mortar, you can pretty much buy whatever you might like from Two Guys. Or you can take his suggestions and go down to the local brick and mortar where you're at and then start trying out brands that you would think you might like. I mean, why not? Buy a couple sticks, smoke at least 2. I think like the general thought is give a cigar at least 2 smokes before you render a decision and go from there. So we will have Mr. J on again here sooner than later. We thank him for his time. I'll talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills before we wrap the show up here this evening. They are not exhibiting at the HPB Expo coming up, unfortunately. However, still selling great pellet cookers, choice lines, and prime lines to choose from. The prime line has the Peak and the Ledge. So if you're looking for app connectivity, if you're looking for Wi-Fi, if you're looking for Peak and Windows, all the stuff that a lot of these other companies are offering, then the Prime line is the one you want to choose. If you don't mind foregoing all this stuff that most of these other people have, you just want a solid, better than entry-level cooker, Choice line is the one you want. Now, much like Primo Grills, Green Mountain Grills sold through dealers only. So go to greenmountaingrills.com, find a dealer near you, visit the dealer, check out all the different lines and models, and then pick the one that's best for you. The benefit of going to the dealer, of course, is that the folks at the dealer will be able to educate you on exactly where the differences are and what the features and benefits are, how that will give you ROI on that cooker. And most importantly, they will educate you on how to use it. So when you get it home, you can be successful right off the bat. No buyer's remorse. That's not what Green Mountain Grills is about. That's why they do the dealer network thing. Go to greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. And find out all about these cookers. And then again, visit the dealer. I have some more news on them over the next couple weeks, but we're not going to talk about that now. That's greenmountaingrills.com. And we're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. I'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. We thank Mr. Jonathan from the Cigar Authority's podcast for joining us. I forgot to ask him the question. I knew it. Where is he on how much is too much to spend on a flat top? Currently, 85% of you are still in the $300 to $499 spot, while 10% of you are in the there is no budget when it's barbecue. 5% of you now are weighing in saying $500 to $699 is more your speed for flat top cookers. So I apologize for not asking Mr. Jonathan about that. Although, if I'm not mistaken, I think I might have seen him in the instant chat before he jumped on, and he was in where the majority of you guys were in the $300 to $499 range. Mr. J, if you're still in the instant chat, double check me on that, and I apologize for not asking you right off the top, but that's how we do it here on the show. It's too busy to talk cigars and ditch live fire for 15 minutes. Anyway, we're back on track. We are pointing to the second hour, so go ahead and refresh your libations as we get ready for the last 60 minutes or the second hour of the show. Tell all your friends and neighbors that it's going on. We have Sam the Cooking Guy coming up in the second hour. We also have Chris Young from Combustion Inc. So send out tweets and Facebook messages, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is Steve the Cookout Coach, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish! What?
He ate 54 wieners.
Oh, listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
Welcome to the second hour. Hey, it's the Barbecue Central Show, where we talk about only the most high-level, important items of the barbecue and grilling community through the course of the week, the last few weeks, the last few months. If it still makes sense to talk about in the live fire industry, we're going to hit it no matter what. Like it or love it, you better gang away. Still to come on this show this evening, Sam the Cooking Guy and Chris Young from Combustion Inc. will round out the guest segments here. By the way, this show being brought to you and originating from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms, Facebook and Twitch/BBQ Central Show. You can also watch via YouTube /RD Rempe, where, of course, we do have the YouTube poll question of the week going on, and we'll recap that here in just 1 second. Also, we are live on Clubhouse as well, so if you'd rather hear us instead of watching us, great way to get the show audibly without having to do any of the visibility stuff. And by the way, if you're just a podcast listener, you got to make sure you're subscribed to the podcast in order to do that. And you're going to want to make sure you are subscribed to the podcast as we talk about what's happening here. By the way, if you're just tuning in to the show now, you've missed the whole first hour, but that hour will be released here early tomorrow morning. Second hour will be released on Thursday, and I'll tell you about Friday here in just 1 second. Let's update the YouTube question of the week, or poll of the week, or whatever we're going to be calling it these days. How much would you spend on a standalone flat top cooker? $300 to $499, $500 to $699, or $700 to $1,000, or there is no budget when it comes to barbecue, and it looks like there has been a small change. 85% of you now are saying it is in the $300 to $499 range. How about that? So that price level has been holding firm. And I think our audience, a fervent group of live fire enthusiasts of all sorts, propane, pellet, throwing sticks, charcoal driven, and all forms in between, electric, sure, why not? 85% won't broach the $500. Now, you'll broach $500 if it's $499 plus tax. But just straight up before tax, nobody's looking to really broach over $500 except 5% of you, which is not an alarming individual number. And then 10% are saying $700 to $1,000. I'm sorry, 10% are saying there's no budget whatsoever. I would love to see what you're buying. Sometimes I think in these polls, maybe we're getting a little aggressive or we're anonymous, and so we're just going ahead and being a disruptor for disruptor's sake. So if you're buying a $10,000 standalone flat top. I want to see it. A, I want to see the receipt, and B, I want to see video or send me pictures, because you are then living the true firm. There is no budget when it comes to barbecue. So $300 to $499 seems to be where the sweet spot is, and we'll continue to watch that trend here through the rest of the show. And as we end the show this evening, coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, episode 272, which is from March 8th, 2011. So believe it or not, 12 years ago. It'll be just a shade over 12 years ago. I mean, can you believe it? I'm trying to think in this chat who's been with me for 12 years. Kinger's probably the one that's closest to being around for 12 years. Jason, when did you start listening to the show? Jason takes a break. Jason's been around the show for so long, he takes hiatus from the show, and then he comes back, and then he re-hiatuses. He does Booze Teen, and then has to take time away because maybe Booze Teen brought some heat from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I can't confirm that. I can't deny it. But bringing you back to March 8th of 2011, who's in this Best Moments show? Well, we journey back to a time where I did something when the show was only an hour long. There was a number of years in the beginning where the show was 1 hour, especially when I had started the live shows on what was then LA Talk Radio, or BBS Talk Radio was transitioned into LA Talk Radio. It was technically a 55-minute show. Now, eventually, we've grown into the 2-hour charade that it is now. And in fact, at points of this life, we also added a Wednesday show for some undetermined amount of time. I don't actually remember doing a Wednesday show, but it's in the archives somewhere. John Solberg confirms that there was an additional day of shows for some period of time. But as we journey back, we did something called the fourth segment free-for-all, which was the very last segment of the show. I had 4 or 5 companies that contacted me and said, hey, we'd love to participate in your show in some way. We have some things that we would like to give away, and we would be honored if you. So we had somebody that had like wine infused wood chunks. We had El Capitan tri-tip seasoning, and Cosmos Q was a giver away of products at that point in time. Remember, again, 12 years ago at this point. Now, if it's free, it's me. Rule number 3 of the show, right? Yes. So that's why it was very popular. Also, we had a phone line at that point. We had a phone line for a while, so people could just call in. I was calling out area code numbers as people were calling in to let them know that they were on the air. But the thing that set the fourth segment free-for-all off, all on its own, a unique piece of show history and just broadcast medium history in general, is the fact that the fourth segment free-for-all was hosted by Harry Carey, Hall of Fame baseball announcer for the Chicago Cubs. He took over, he ran the segment, and this is I don't know, look back at that portion of time. Winning prizes on the show, not unique. It's happened for years, but this was done in a time when I thought perhaps I was pulling off a fairly accurate impersonation of Will Ferrell, who was doing his impersonation of Harry Carey. This wasn't my direct impersonation of Harry Carey. It was me doing an impersonation of Will Ferrell doing an impersonation of Harry Carey. You can be the judge of how good or bad the impersonation is or was. You can also be the judge of how good the comedic value of this particular bit that John has sectioned out is. Is it time to bring the fourth segment free-for-all back? That might be the question that we ask in the YouTube poll next week, because everybody loves free stuff, and I'm not sure what percentage of you love really bad impersonations, but maybe we will. Could it be time to bring it back? Maybe so. Are you excited? I know I am. Okay. Don't forget, if you want to hear a guest or segment again that might be lost in the archives now. Remember, the show that you're going to hear on Friday was 12 years ago, and we were doing live shows for 3 years before that, if you can believe it. 3 years and a month, almost to the day. Remember, live show started 2708, and this is March 8th, 2011. So 3 years and a month plus 1 day of 3 years into the show at that point. Believe it or not. I mean, this show's been around forever. Anyway, if you want to hear a show or a segment or an interview, email John, Jon, at thebbqcentralshow.com and let him know what you would like to hear. He'll do his best to meet your expectation. As I mentioned in the first hour, this weekend, Saturday, I'm going to be attending my favorite destination across the nation, Louisville, Kentucky, to spend 24 hours at the 2023 HPB Expo, which is put on by the HPBA, the Hearth Patio and Barbecue Association. I have some appointments lined up with top men and women in the industry to do some interviews. Plan on meeting some folks in person that I've had on the show over the past few years. Maybe hunt down some real big sponsors. My question to you is this. Who do you want me to go talk to and get interviews and videos from? There will be a number of bonus content episodes coming up after this is done. Yes, so be on the lookout for those as they're released over the next month or so as I get them edited down and ready for the podcast feed. But let me know who you would like to hear from, who you'd like me to get video from, what questions you would like me to ask a manufacturer of a grill or an accessory, whatever. As long as they're in attendance, I will try to get some time with them and ask questions. But again, I do have some meetings that are starting to happen fairly rapidly here over the beginning of the week. But I'll be available for communication with you to hear your feedback. Hit me up on email or through direct message. LinkedIn, my LinkedIn account is going really well at BBQ Central Show on LinkedIn. Follow me there or whatever you do on LinkedIn. Before we get to Sam the Cooking Guy, I will talk to you about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself, from the award-winning rubs and sauces to the American-made grills and smokers. Big Papa has something for every type of outdoor cook. Known for the championship rubs and seasonings like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, all proven winners on the competition circuit and in backyards. Also, owners of Granny's Barbecue Sauce. So if you're looking for a new go-to sauce that will please everybody, check out Granny's. Tired of what's already out there? Want something new? Want a great base sauce that you can trick out? Granny's is the perfect one. Want a great sauce that's good right out of the bottle? Granny's is really good too. Aside from the rubs and sauces, they're selling cookers. Are you looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use? Check out that Mac 2-Star General Pellet Cooker. Big Papa Smokers, the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages. If you're not a fan of pellet smokers or you don't know what grill you might want, call them and ask questions. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727, or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. And we are back with Sam the Cooking Guy right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, currently available in 3 sizes with a host of accessories. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or professional, definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. My next guest is a YouTube cooking sensation, and over 3.49 million of you are subscribed to the YouTube channel as of March 4th, 2023, winner of many Emmys, a Barbecue Central Show's guest Hall of Famer, and somebody I love to talk food and life with. Your pal and mine, because I'm nice this time. Sam, the cooking guy. Sam, I'm going to ask you a YouTube question right off the bat.
Go ahead. I have a question for you. Go ahead.
Is YouTube growth slowing for the channel?
For us?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
I think it's pretty common, though. Wait, why?
Yes.
I think it's like anything. I mean, a new burger store opens in your town, a new supermarket. It's fancy, it's glossy, it gets a lot of attention. People go, and then of course there's the sort of a natural drop off. You can't continue to go at a meteoric rise. When we first started this, the smartest YouTube people we knew said, look, you guys are experiencing some remarkable growth right now. Just don't know, or just don't expect that it will always continue, because it can't. I mean, other people that I watch.
When do they tell you to start seeing it stem?
Oh, I don't know that I remember them saying there's a point at which you should expect it to sort of level off. But I think what's important is the engagement that we have with our viewers. That's an important consideration when it comes to YouTube, because people watching is one thing. Eyeballs on your stuff is one thing. But people that consistently watch, that support your sponsors, that kind of stuff, that's the shit that's kind of important. It's more important, honestly. So are we the biggest audience? Do we have the biggest audience out there? Absolutely not. Do we have a loyal following? Absolutely. Do people buy the things that we want to sell? Do they support our sponsors? 100%. It's why the sponsors come back to us on a regular basis. And yeah. So I love your questions, man. I have a question, though.
Okay.
You said I'd love to talk food and life with.
Yes.
About me.
Yeah.
If you could only choose one, what would it be? Food or life to talk to me about?
It's not even a question. I would rather talk life. What about you?
Good boy. Good boy. That's what I like.
Would you rather talk food or life with me?
I think I'd rather talk life with you.
Yeah, all right. I'll take that.
Well, because you know what? Here's the deal. You're not a Southern Californian of, sort of my relative genre. You don't do the things that I do normally. One of the first Cooking Guy cruises, maybe this will make sense of it. One of the first Cooking Guy cruises we did was Mexico. There was myself, Kelly, Mrs. Cooking Guy, and like 60 random people. No idea who they were. And the very first night on board, we did not go to dinner with everybody. We went to one of the restaurants and ate by ourselves. And the person that was on board, that was helping coordinate the cruise, the next morning said, everybody was like, well, where's Sam and Kelly? Are they not going to hang out with us? Do they not want to hang out with us? And it's not that we didn't want to. It's that I guess somehow we thought that maybe we didn't need to. I don't know what it was. We were very naive. So we went the next night at dinner to the giant dining room, and we sat with everybody. I mean, there was a whole bunch of tables. We liked it so much that each night we sat at a different table, different people. And we came home, and a friend of mine said, how was the cruise? And I told him, he goes, dude, come on, be fucking honest with me. You're telling me you liked hanging out with completely random, foreign, stranger people that you've never met and listen to whatever their stories are. I said, 100%. I would rather go on a cruise with people I don't know that I have nothing to do with than go on a cruise with a bunch of my age or YouTube cooking people and talk cooking. I don't care about that. I want to learn things about people that I don't know. I want to learn about things that I don't know. And that was the fun part for me. And that's why I like talking to you, because we're not the same. We have different lives. We have different shit going on.
Yep.
And I learn things when I talk to you. We talk about food. We talk about food. Everybody can make a burger or a steak or, you know, whatever. Use a fucking stick burner, that kind of shit. But no, I can't use a stick burner. I don't have one. But what's interesting is the male thinking, how we relate in our families, how the kids get along, the things. That's the important stuff in life. It really is. So,
have you made a concerted effort to not swear as much or bleep more than you did in the beginning of Sam the Cooking Guy videos after you got out of the live stuff?
I don't think so.
This
well, I think YouTube's a little. I think YouTube's a little more sensitive these days.
Oh,
which causes us to be a little bit more sensitive.
This clip says otherwise.
I don't think you can
First
swear.
timer to the show. It's Sam Zion, Sam the Cooking Guy. Sam, how are you, buddy?
What's up, man? How you doing, Greg?
Fuck face.
Fuck face.
Fuck face.
Fuck face. Fuck face. Shit. Fucking. Fuck it. Really fucking good. Fucking. Fuck it. Shit that shit. Fucking shit. Shit. Shitty. Fuck it. Fucking fuck up. Oh, fuck.
No shit.
Shit. Hey, y'all. Fucking. Hey, y'all. Shit happens. Shit. Fucking shit. Fucking shit. Fucking.
There he is. Sam.
First ever interview. That was all you. Well, I mean, there were some me, but most of that was you on the first interview ever on the show.
No, I don't. Holy crap. Holy fucking shit crap. I don't even. Jesus fucking Christ balls. I don't think. Maybe I'm mellowing. I don't know why that would have happened. Damn it, man.
I just love that.
Nice. That was cute.
Last month, we missed you. Yep. You were really under the full court press of getting this latest book done. You had mentioned off air that this was perhaps more cumbersome or more of an effort than you recall on any other previous books. Why?
No, not perhaps. 100%. This is a grilling book, grilling, barbecue, smoking. So the things take, so much longer. I mean, I'm putting briskets and shoulders on at fucking midnight and hoping they all work out. And they did. The brisket was amazing. That's in the book. That will be in the book. But everything is just, the last book was burgers, dogs, sandwiches, burritos, and tacos. And I can make a dozen tacos. There you go. In no time. Burgers, not much longer than that. Burritos take a little bit. Sandwiches, not that much. But I can make it and then hand it to Lucas Barbieri, the photographer that I've used for the past 3 books. And he does beautiful stuff with it. We maybe talk a little bit, but in general, you're taking a picture of a burger. There's not too much you can do with that. But now I'm doing a steak. I'm smoking a 9-pound prime rib. I'm doing beef back ribs or whatever I'm doing. So now we're getting shots of the stuff in mid cook, on the grill, flames below, then after, how it looks and that kind of stuff. And it was a lot. And so the last 2 books we did like 6 days each. I think we're now day 9. We've done 9 days, and we have yet to shoot the cover. We're doing that on Thursday.
That's going to be a tough act to follow, given Between the Buns cover.
Yeah, Between the Buns cover was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to top it. I'm just trying to do something, unique, interesting, and it will be fun. Look, I love the picture taking process. I heard Meathead tell you that he took all his own pictures.
Yes, he does.
I've not seen a Meathead. I've not seen a Meathead book to see the pictures. But is his work good?
Well, I mean,
because I know
he's got his
Lucas's work is
masters.
fucking
He's got his
amazing.
masters in photography.
Well, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, I mean, are you the only
you can
person?
have a master's in
Is that Meathead calling you right now to take issue with you?
No, you can have a master's in history and be a fucking idiot about history. I'm not saying he's an idiot. I'm just saying just because he has a master's, the proof is in the pudding, buddy. What are his pictures like?
Are you the only person that doesn't have Meathead's first book?
I don't have Meathead's first book.
What? How dare you?
Does everybody else have it?
All right, that's Sam the cooking guy,
I'll go
everybody.
order it
Good
tonight.
evening. Have a good evening.
So
I gotta go.
So wait, are you telling me that Meathead's
he does his own photography?
First book was his own photography?
Yes.
In that book too? That first one?
Now he's experimenting. I think he calls it light painting, where he shoots probably long exposure. I don't know anything about camera, so forgive me. But I assume there's like some long exposure. Then he's got a supplemental light, and he's like shining it around the areas that he wants. And he sent me some pictures one time, but I'm not allowed to show them because I'm sure it's under some type of NDA. But I mean, I'm no picture taker, but it seemed pretty impressive to me.
Well, I sent you a couple pictures the other day, and like without getting into the topic of what was on what was in the picture, you have to admit those were pretty fucking beautiful shots.
They are great shots, absolutely, no doubt.
And Meatheads are like 20 times better than those.
No, his camera work would be book worthy. You wouldn't look at it and go, "Oh, what did he do? Shoot his own pictures?" All right. Well, I mean, there's no reason to be so critical or so cynical of me.
I'm not being critical yet.
Name.
I'm just nothing to do with his name. Look, all I'm going to say is this: when the book comes out, if the book comes out, and I know you say it's definitely coming out, but apparently there's a lot of people that wonder whether it's actually going to come. When the book comes out, I will look at the pictures and I will tell you what I think. Here's what I know. I know what I do well, and I can't do everything well. I do not take my own pictures. And I appreciate the fact that he does his own stuff. If it's great, good. If it's not great, then I will be the judge of that.
Sam the cooking guy joining us. YouTube poll of the week. How much would you spend on a freestanding flat top cooker? $300 to $499.
$899. $899.
I can't get through the poll?
Oh, sorry.
I mean, this is my show. Just relax. Let me lead you down the primrose path, Mrs. Bueller.
Sorry. Go ahead.
$300 to $499, $500 to $699, $700 to $1,000, or, bro, this is barbecue. There is no budget.
Look,
answer
I know
honestly.
with this.
No, you don't.
Everybody knows where you're going with this. Of course.
No,
look,
you don't, because I have answers.
Listen. We have a Blackstone at the Little Italy Food Hall. Which, by the way, I'm repping the sweatshirt right now. Right?
All right.
Move the mic. There you go. Little Italy Food Hall. I'll be doing a demo 2 nights from now, Thursday night. I'll be making fried rice pancakes on the Blackstone.
Yeah.
And it's a nice piece of equipment. I've used the Camp Chef.
Yeah.
I think a Camp Chef is nice. I've used both of those. I have never used the Traeger flat rock that is sitting in my backyard, brand new, that has been seasoned but not been used yet, that will be ready. It's being readied for a YouTube video March 23rd.
All right.
So I can't compare it yet. I've only seasoned it. But I'll tell you, one of the things that I like about it that I will say in the video is it's essentially a closed system. There is, look, you make a face, like you have a hard on for Traeger, and I don't mean in a good way.
What are you talking about?
I don't mean in a good way.
You just went on for a 3-minute disclaimer
What?
about how you haven't used it, and now you're going to talk to me about what you like about it. Don't say anything you don't.
I'm going to
Don't
say one thing
anything
that I
about
like.
it.
I'm going to say one thing I like about it.
All right.
I can say this.
The closed system
that I've noticed. So you can't. Wind is not going to blow the F out of the flames.
Look, I talked to Malcom Reed. I talked to Malcom Reed.
Yeah, what did Malcom Reed say?
First hour, I said, "What have you been hearing?" Because all of a sudden, I'm hearing about Blackstone. The wind rushes underneath it and blows out. 5 years of Blackstone being in business, maybe longer than that, and owning the market. I never heard one dick about somebody having their Blackstone blow out because of the wind. Never. I've never had any issue.
I've never had the Blackstone blow out.
Right.
I'm just telling you, if there's wind, it's accessible. It opens itself up.
All right.
I've done a lot of outdoor cooking with burners and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. I cooked one. It doesn't matter where I cook. I've had to build shelters around the stuff to keep the flames from being diminished from the wind. So Malcom Reed says one thing, I say one thing. Go, you love Malcom Reed more because you hate Traeger.
I don't hate Traeger.
You have Jeremy Anders on. Say to Jeremy Anders, I'm interviewing you, but I hate your company. I want you to say that to him.
Oh, yeah?
I think that's true.
You want to dare me?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay.
Say
you got it. I'll write it. I'll do it.
Good.
Believe me.
Thank you.
It'll be the last time he's on the show. Anyway, you've done well at not answering the question. Do you have an answer?
What was the question? What was your question?
How
what
much would you
pay?
spend on a freestanding grill? $3 to $4.99, $5 to $6.99, $700 to $1,000, or there is no budget in barbecue?
Of course, there's a budget in barbecue. I don't know. I mean,
this is the easiest question on the face of the earth. Who's hotter, Blanche Devereaux or Dorothy Spagnola from the Golden Girls is a harder question than this one.
Listen, I've not fucking cooked on it, so I don't know if an $899
you're a consumer.
flat top is better than...
You're a consumer. If I'm throwing prices out at you, you know what a flat top is. Holding what you have in the barn for free aside...
Listen, I have a $4,500. Look, I cook on a $4,500 Evo almost every week.
Yeah,
and I love it.
Yes.
Would I go buy it again? Maybe.
I think you would.
But I tell people, huh?
I think you would.
I tell people listen, my friend. I tell people it's not that it's an Evo and that it's round and it has two distinct cooking areas. Two distinct zones,
yes.
Middle, outside. It's that it's flat, and cooking on the flat is the best part of it, even though it's slightly convex. But that being said, I don't know.
Nothing has been said.
$400. That's what I'll pay. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
By the way,
I can't give you an.
78% of voters on the YouTube poll of the week are saying that they would spend between $300 and $499 for a freestanding flat top cookers. 9% say between $5 and $699. 4% are lying at $700 to $1,000, and 9% are the worst liars in the world.
Why would they be lying?
I'm kidding. And
because it's Traeger. You hate them.
No, 9% are saying that there is no budget in barbecue, so spend as you will. How about that?
Well, that's not true. Of course there's a budget.
You are falling into the majority, which I think is probably the right answer because, look, there's a lot of I still think there's going to be more entrants, believe it or not, into the freestanding flat top category as the year wears on. Maybe 3, 4, or more OEMs that we have not seen enter into this market are going to get into it, and we'll see who can claw back some of that market share from Blackstone. Which seems
Name
to
a
be
couple of them,
like
quick. Name a couple of those OEMs, quick.
That haven't been in yet? Or that are out? Charbroil?
No, that are, you said there's a few more coming in.
I'm guessing.
Sure, sorry.
I would guess Charbroil, Napoleon. I would guess Next Grill just came out with one, of course. That's all I got right off the top of my head. Maybe Sabre, maybe Masterbuilt. Maybe Char Griller.
Saber.
Yeah. What?
What is Saber?
Yeah, well, they're part of a bigger parent conglomerate. So, yeah.
Never heard of it.
So just thinking off the top of my head here without doing a lot of due diligence. But I'll know better, too,
here's the thing.
at the HPB Expo this coming weekend.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
Listen, until I cook on this thing, I can't tell you if this is the one that I would buy.
Of course you can't.
Do I like the way it looks? No.
I'm agreeing
with you. Do I like
with you.
the way it looks? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Just stop it. Do I like I know it's your show. Do I like the way it looks? Yes. Do I like the way it feels? Does it feel like quality? Does it feel better than the one we used down at the food? Yes, it does. It feels better than that. It feels more quality than that. I haven't used it. I don't know. I don't know if the system that they say separates the heat so you can have three absolutely distinct systems. I don't know what Malcom Reed probably said. He doesn't believe in that, and so that's what you believe. So I don't know.
Well,
I can't agree with
I am
that.
48 years old, and I can make my own goddamn decisions. Also,
but you're making a decision based on having never used it. You're making a decision based on what Malcom Reed said.
Look, again, I'm
when
the
did
king.
Malcom Reed become the god of flat top?
I'm the king of the industry. You were the one telling me to come off my high chair when I told you that activated charcoal rub was played. I'm telling you that in the time I have seen freestanding flat top cookers in this market, there are a whole bunch of this is what's bad with flat top cookers that are just being trotted out now over the last 3 months that have never been trotted out for the last 5 years.
Can I tell you something about
Quickly,
my Blackstone?
I have to go. I have another guest.
Where do you go? Then go. See ya. I'll see you next month.
No, please finish.
No. Here's what happens on a regular basis with my Blackstone.
All right.
Not my Blackstone. It's down at the Little Italy food hall.
Yeah. The Blackstone that you hate cooking on?
I don't hate cooking on it.
I mean, it seems like you do.
Listen, you turn it on. I hate it as much as you hate Traeger, apparently. You turn it on and you get you get flame, but hardly any flame.
Yeah.
And what you have to do when you realize it's not heating up, this has happened to me now numerous times. And so numerous for me is 3 or more. So maybe 3 or 4 times. You have to turn it off. You have to disconnect the gas hose from the tank.
Oh.
Then put it back on and then start again.
Wow.
There's some kind of air lock that happens. And it's not being disconnected. Something happens. And you get no heat. You get flame, but it's like a dinky little flame.
Sam, can we bring in an expert?
Yes. It's
Joining us
Malcom
now
Reed.
is the smartest man currently in live fire. Of course, it is Chris Young.
Hey,
now, Chris,
how's everyone doing tonight?
Stand by here just for 1 second, Chris. I gotta adjust my 4-way here just so we can make sure we all see each other here properly. Now, in the meantime,
4-way.
Chris, you've been
Jesus
sitting.
Christ.
You've been sitting here in the queue waiting to go. And do you have a price of freestanding flat top that you would pay for?
Ridiculous fucking poll.
I mean, it's how good is it? I'm willing to spend more than most people, but for a Blackstone, something at that quality,
No, just in general. Like you're a consumer, you know that there's options in the market. You're a purchaser. Doesn't matter what anybody else would spend. What's your gut telling you is a good price on a flat top cooker, freestanding?
Freestanding flat top griddle. If it's everything I want it to be, under $1,000.
Under $1,000. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Oh, that fucks up all of your statistics, Greg.
No,
you have to hate Chris Young now, so just hang up on Chris.
No.
Because he did not give you the answer that you wanted.
No.
I know the answer you want. You want $250 to $299. Just admit it.
No, that's not true.
You want the furthest number away from the Traeger because you do not like Traeger. It's obvious. your loathe of Traeger.
All right, Sam, turn the camera around. Is Jeremy Andrus sitting right there behind the camera, and he's paying you to salaciously drag me across the mud? Unbelievable.
Listen, just let the people respond. Let's do a new YouTube poll. Does Greg like Traeger or does Greg not like Traeger?
Sam,
There's your poll.
I have a Traeger Timberline 850 in my backyard.
Doesn't matter that you have it.
I love it. It's a great cooker. I've had no problems with it. I'm a fan.
You love your Traeger Timberline, but do you love the company? Do you love what they've done with their more expensive pellet smokers that have come out?
I don't have any issue with Traeger, the company.
You have
and
an
their
issue
products.
with them because of their dominance over their patent issue. That's your problem.
Sure, I can
and
have
that
an
has
issue.
colored a lot of how you feel about them.
No, I don't have an.
Yes, it has. Don't come on. Don't say it hasn't. It has, of course.
I certainly have no issue with any products that they offer. Period.
How fun is this, Chris?
Period. End of story. I have no problem with any of their products. Period. End of story. How they conduct business is completely separate. It's completely separate
no, it
from
is
that.
not, because that colors everything.
No, Chris,
it colors
weigh in. You're
everything.
somebody,
This
you
is so
created
great. I love
Jewel.
this.
You've created the chef steps. You're very successful in business. Can somebody like products from a company, but then also be at odds with how they do business?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah.
Except you.
No.
Except you. That colors everything.
But
yes,
I just said it.
It colors everything
Oh,
you do. Come
Why
on.
aren't you listening?
Whenever you talk Traeger, you're edging for people to go, no, I fucking hate it.
No.
I don't like it.
Chris, do you have any thoughts on Traeger as a company?
They're
look,
stealing
Traeger-
the patents
Traeger's
away
my
from
biggest
Mountain
Traeger's
Grills.
my biggest competitor, right?
Yeah.
They own Meter.
Right.
I'm in the smart thermometer space now. Meter's the 800-pound gorilla and has all the benefits of Traeger. And Traeger, by reputation, even when I was running Chef Steps, they're a very good, very aggressive marketing company.
Yes.
I have historically been underwhelmed with their products. I don't think they're a great product company. There's a lot of companies that are great product companies that are terrible at marketing. We never hear from them. Do I think Traeger is aggressive in business? Absolutely. I think if you look at the people who are involved in Traeger, they are elbows out aggressive players. And I understand that in business. It's not how I particularly like to conduct my business. So I think but I also understand why people like their products. I think they make for the average person, I think they make great products, and I get why people like them. So I think you can separate who they are as a company, which most of us don't spend that much time thinking about, and who they are with products. I think their products are fine, but not particularly great.
Sam, this has been inspired conversation. And I can only hope that we find such revelry again in April.
And by the way, Chris, I have one of your thermometers.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you.
Are we going to talk about that, Sam?
I hope you're having a good experience with it so far.
Honestly, I haven't really used it. I feel
bad.
You know what? I bought it when I first started hearing about it. Well, what can I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Right.
I haven't used the fucking flat rock. I haven't used yours. But when I first heard about it, I went and I bought it. I was excited to use it. And I just haven't really had the right chance. My stupid phone. Haven't had the right chance to use it yet, but I will.
Well, if you got any questions,
because
or you have any suggestions, reach out. Let me know. I'm on Twitter, email, all of those things.
Thanks.
All right, Sam,
I will not go through fucking Rempy because Rempy is a pain in the ass.
Yes, you're
and
damn
he's
right.
difficult and he has an agenda.
I am working any and all agendas. Let's be honest. Of course. Right. Sam, always appreciate the time. Thank you, my friend.
Hey, nice to chat with you.
Yes.
All right, there's Sam. So we're going to hold Chris here and appreciate you being thrown into the gauntlet.
Well,
that's
the monthly marital therapy there? What is that?
Yeah, wow. I mean, for some reason, he thinks I think I was determining that he thinks I don't like Traeger's products, but that is not true. I'm a big fan of the products. Again, it just goes to maybe me not being a fan of some of their business practices. But again, people are going to run businesses how they're going to run businesses, and some people are going to dig it, some people aren't. and that's just the way it is. And we'll continue on from there. Here we have Chris Young, who is coming out of the bullpen tonight to help me close the show. He is the creator of Combustion Inc., or you can find him on the web at combustion.inc. So before we talk about the latest from Combustion Inc., Chris, the last time you were on the show, there were issues with the initial release. You were getting some things. You were testing quality control, and I guess they weren't meeting your specific quality assurance test. How does it resolve itself, and when do they actually get into the hands of folks?
Well, so everybody who pre-ordered has theirs. We were briefly in stock for about exactly 48 hours on February 19th, and then we sold out. So I think we are running about a 2-week back order right now. But we are shipping, and the quality is, we've gone through the early manufacturing teething pains. That was, some people had turkey for Thanksgiving. Some people had Christmas and took vacations. I dealt with factories. That was my holiday. But those have worked themselves out, and the early feedback from the thousands of customers who very patiently, while we slogged through 6 months of delays, has been great. Not without some bugs, not without some flaws that we've been quickly patching, but I feel like we delivered on the product we promised. There's always things that I would like to keep tweaking, but people are happy, and I think we delivered a great product. So I'm pretty happy these days.
Through the lag time, did you experience any significant cancellations, or did people remain pretty patient?
None. I think without giving too much detail, I think we had a total of 12 cancellations for the 6 months of delays. I mean, we had people upset. Like I get it. They wanted their thermometer. We said we'd be shipping it in the summer. We missed grilling season, and we were everybody in Europe basically didn't get theirs till after the holidays because of shipping, weather delays, customs delays, on and on. So I get why people were frustrated, but they didn't cancel. We made some pretty big promises, and as I've said before, we didn't do a Kickstarter. We didn't get people's money and then we could walk away and never deliver. That I was 100. And the company's owned by me. It's me backing this. I was 100% at risk. If everybody asked for their money back, I guess we would have had to give it back, and the credit card companies would have put me out of business with all the chargebacks. So, it's always sort of nerve-wracking is everybody going to cancel? And then when you do ship it, are they going to like it? Like, we've been heads down for 2.5 years. We think it's pretty great, but you never really know until you get thousands and thousands of people saying, actually, this is pretty great, or saying it's really great, but I wanted to do this one thing. And that's almost better, where, they're never fully satisfied, and they want this to be the earth, moon, and sun. And they're telling us where we should go next, what features we should be building in the software, what we should be doing in the app. And, we have a lot of great stuff coming out this month and next month that I think will really continue to make the app a great experience too.
How much pressure was on you, or how much pressure did you feel, since you mentioned this was not a Kickstarter or crowdfunded in any way, you're footing the bill? Was there a lot of pressure on you internally to make sure that you were delivering a product to these folks as quickly as possible, but also delivering on the expectation that you had told them how this product was going to perform?
It's a bit of a tricky answer. I've been involved in some pretty high pressure, high profile projects. Modernist Cuisine's over my shoulder there. I obviously did the Joule sous vide circulator. So this was not my first rodeo of doing something that was really ambitious. And I think, thankfully, because if I hadn't had those experiences, I think the combination of supply chain issues and COVID and all of that probably would have crushed a less experienced version of me. But I think the main thing is, I put my name on this. I stake my reputation on everything I've ever done. It's my name on that book, whether, people spent $500 for that book, like it or not like it, that's on me. And Nathan in that case. Same thing with Joule, and now with Combustion. And Combustion has, all of those other things had a co-author or an investor behind it. This is me betting that I can deliver work that people will love, that people will value, that people, we're a premium product. So will we deliver the value at the price we've offered it? That's a fair amount of pressure. There were some dark moments of like, are we going to, October was miserable. Are we going to work this out? Are we going to figure this out? And it's made a lot harder because in normal times, the supply chain is across Asia, like a lot of modern supply chains are. And there's a lot of things where if you could get on a plane and get in the factory and get there with the people putting it together, you could solve something in 48 hours. Instead, it's you have a Zoom call, then they FedEx something and it gets to you in a week, and you look at it and you have another call and you send stuff back. And so like things that would have been figured out in a couple days in a factory stretched out to weeks and weeks and weeks. And it's costing you money and customers are getting angry. I would say that I'm not looking to repeat the fall of 2022 again anytime soon, but we have a good way of forgetting this kind of trauma once you get it out there, once you hear people liking it, because that's the only way you'd ever do this again. It's like having kids. If you forgot like what a big pain in the ass it was when you're changing diapers and dealing with poo at 2 a.m, you'd never do it again. But you kind of block that out and go, sex is pretty fun, and all of a sudden you got 2 or 3 kids.
No doubt. Chris Young joining us here from Combustion Inc., the website combustion.inc, if you want to check it out as we're talking here. So there's a new updated part of the Combustion Inc. predictive thermometer, which has a smart device / app component now associated with it. So tell us all about it.
Yeah. So when we launched, we were only selling the thermometer with the thermometer and the display, which you've got pulled up there. And we felt that was an experience where we wanted to get away from having to use the food in the kitchen when your hands are covered in goo. But, there's time where you're not going to be around the food. You might be watching the game. You've got something on the barbecue, or you want to look at a lot of rich data. You want to look at graphs. You want to be able to, really nerd out on the detail. And that's really where a mobile app is actually the better experience. We always had a mobile app experience, but our priority was getting the connectivity rock solid, getting the precision measurements rock solid, getting the algorithms working really well. Once we got through that, we had more time to start putting into the iOS and the Android apps. We've been shipping updates. We shipped one earlier this week, and we have a big one coming in about 1 week that has graphing, that has the ability to add photos, to label your thermometers. And so now we're saying you can really choose. If you're somebody who doesn't want to cook with a phone, or then the display is for you. But if you're happy just to have a thermometer, or you want to get a second or a third or a fourth thermometer, or frankly an unlimited number, the app can handle as many as you want, then the free app is a really great experience. So we just started selling standalone thermometers. We immediately sold out, and we're about 2 weeks of back order, but it's good problems to have, right? So, and that's at a more affordable price point. The display and thermometer together are $199. The standalone thermometer is $149, which we know is still a premium product, but we think it's very unique technology.
Instant chat coming in from the barbecue show asking if it will melt if it gets over 575.
No, so that is not a plastic handle. That is a glazed ceramic handle. You can scrub it with stainless steel to get all the smoke off and clean it back up to that really bright, high visibility yellow. The internal components are the same reason you'll see a ThermalWorks thermometer. Things tend to max out at 300C, 572. Lots of things don't like solder. Circuit boards, they hate temperatures above that. The ceramic itself can go to 1200 degrees, and it's a good insulator. It can withstand the occasional flare up or a really hot searing grill. The maximum temperature for the sensors is 572. But I will tell you, even on some of the hottest grills, my Big Green Egg, a Weber charcoal kettle that I've modified with a fan for rapid searing. If I'm going to get stupidly hot, I'll take the thermometer out because I'm only going to be on there 30 seconds. But most of the time, it's a non-issue. It's not going to melt.
What else can you do within the confines of this business? Now you have predictive thermometers with displays. Now you don't have to have the display. You can just use your smartphone. Is this just something where you're going to be adding more thermometering within the business, or is this just a area to jump off and grow?
I think there's a couple things. So there is, as wonderful as this thermometer is, there's other form factors, there's other uses for measuring temperature where, all of that foundational work we did, where connectivity that just works, smart algorithms, all of that, I have the point of view that measuring the temperature in the kitchen or out on the patio is one of the ways to level up your cooking, to bring consistency, to bring a level of control. And in some ways, the outside cooking space has lagged behind technologies like sous vide and stuff at home. So there are some more obvious paths we should go down with temperature sensors, but more generally, I tend to think there's a lot of opportunities of bringing more measurements, bringing more sensors together and combining them to make it easier to actually cook a great meal. And so, this is a bit of a launching off point of looking at all of these appliances out there that can get hot, but they're too stupid to know when to turn on or off. And so can we bring that kind of technology? Can we combine it with smart machine learning math to be able to, help you cook a better brisket? And that's the vision I'm excited to go build. I suppose I'm a customer of one, but hopefully some other people find that interesting too.
I mean, you're a pretty smart guy here. You've created a product that is perhaps the leader of the class of wireless thermometering. I think people love the concept of meter, but they're pretty disenchanted with a lot of its actual operation. Good in idea, but maybe a little flawed in execution as it gets out there, and it took forever to get out there. Yours now out, seems to be performing well. Have you been approached by other companies, either looking to partner with you or saying, hey, we like where you're at now and let's gobble you up and offer you a check before you get way too big?
So those are two questions. The first answer is I certainly hope to have some interesting partnerships to announce later this year. I would love to say more about that, but it's not really my call to make those kind of announcements. But needless to say, I think there's a lot of appliance companies that recognize the value of a wireless thermometer, of measuring what's actually happening inside the food, to not overcook your chicken, to not roast your prime rib. In terms of have people offered to buy me? Yes. And I am happy to be in the position of being able to say no. I'm having a lot of fun running my company. I enjoy doing it on my terms. And I'm not really a great corporate kind of guy. I tend to like to do the projects the way I like to do them. I have a vision of how things should work. Sitting in meetings and discussing budgets all day or having lots of back and forth with what marketing thinks, that's not what I really would like to spend my time doing.
Are you not a serial entrepreneur in the fact of somebody that, you wrote the book and you did really well at it? You did Jewel, you were able to sell it. Now you have this. Somebody could easily look at it and say, you're a guy that you could sell Combustion Inc. and now you're going to be building another company and maybe sell that as well.
I mean, look, you never say never. And there are certain stages of a company, and Combustion could be a company like that, where you reach a level that to go further, you need more scale. You need the support of a much bigger company. And you sit there and go, well, I could try to get there organically, but I may never get there. It's really risky. I've got to invest way too much of my money. And that might make sense someday. On the other hand, I think one of the things I learned about my last company, Jewel and Chef Steps, where we were 100 people on 4 continents, is, be careful what you wish for. Running a fairly big, complicated company with that many employees, it becomes a different kind of job. And I am right now at the stage with a company like Combustion where it's smaller. It's a great team of people, and we're having a lot of fun. And I'm not willing to give that up for any amount of money. But if at some point, to allow my colleagues to have better opportunities, to allow the company to grow in more interesting directions, it might make sense, but not right now.
I'd asked you how much you would spend on a freestanding flat top cooker. You're somebody that keeps their finger on the pulse of the live fire community. Flat top cooking is not new, as I had mentioned in the first hour. It's, I've been tracking it 5-6 years now. It's probably been around longer than that. But it does seem to be more in vogue than it ever has been. A lot of the grill manufacturers are coming out with their own freestanding ones. Weber came out with one 2 weeks ago. The next day after Weber's, it was Traeger's. Next Grill's out with one. And, a whole bunch have followed either before. Some will follow after that. I'm assuming I'll see some new ones that are going to be released at the HPB Expo in Louisville this coming weekend that I'm going to be going to. What's your thought on flat top cooking in general?
I mean, look, as somebody who worked as a professional chef, you're right. It's not new. If you've ever, anybody who's been a short order cook making tuna melts has been using flat tops for forever. And, in the professional world, they're incredibly versatile, right? The number of think about how many dishes you're not washing. Think about how many meals you can prepare in parallel and have 1 or 2 guys working this really big surface. So I always, when Blackstone came out with it, it always made a ton of sense to me. And it was never going to make a bunch of sense inside the house. People don't have enough ventilation to deal with the amount of smoke and fumes and exhaust you're going to get off a beast like this. But outside, which, I think we're probably the biggest outdoor cooking country in the world. I mean, grills and outdoor cooking dominate. It made a ton of sense. What I think has been disappointing to me, at least on the ones I've gotten to use, and to be clear, I have not yet pulled the trigger on bought one for myself, but my brother has one, and every time I'm down in Colorado using his, I'm missing this. I've been fairly disappointed. I mean, because these are meant to be fairly budget conscious, and if you've ever used a really professional grade flat top griddle or plancha or whatever you want to call it, depending on what part of the world you're in, they're amazing. They're really, really great. And then you use something where, hey, this has got to be brought in for $500, which means, by the time everybody takes their margin, there's maybe $80, $100 of parts in that at most. They're not very good. They're not as good as what I'm used to as a professional. And that's why when you ask me how much would I be willing to pay, well, my benchmark is I want something as good as what I used when I was a chef at a 3 Michelin star restaurant. I want it to be that durable. I want to be able to abuse it. I want it to be rock solid. I want it to be uniform. I want to be able to, scour it clean every night and not warp it. I want it to be flat. I understand as a somebody who manufactures products, that all costs money, plate steel, ground down, uniform heating elements, gas burners that aren't going to basically get vapor lock, which I think I heard some complaints when I came in. That requires not just good engineering, but higher quality parts. And so this is an area where you tend to get what you pay for. If you're going to use it once in a blue moon, get a cheap one. But if this is like your workhorse all summer, I think it's worth paying more for to get a premium one. But again, this is my perspective of I invest in my tools. The things I've made haven't been cheap. Jewel was not the cheapest sous vide on the market. I don't make the cheapest thermometer. My cookbook was, eyes were popping at how expensive it was. But, that quality of work, that quality of craftsmanship costs money. And it's a trade-off of, do you want to be the cheapest or do you want to be the best? I tend to prefer to choose the best, and that probably biases my opinions.
Well, as we say in the live fire community, buy the best and only cry once. We're talking with Chris Young here from Combustion Inc. Website combustion.inc. If you're looking for a wireless predictive thermometer, this is one that you would want to certainly consider. Chris, always appreciate the time and the insight, and we will talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Greg. You have a great night.
You got it. It's Chris Young right there. Again, the website combustion.inc. And if you are in for a wireless predictive thermometer, then this is one that you're certainly going to want to check out, especially compared to what is currently out there in the marketplace. I would imagine the class of the market segment, to say the least. We'll get to where we're ending up with the poll here, so stick around for that. And as we get ready to close the show, since 1991, the National Barbecue and Grilling Association has been the voice of the barbecue and grilling industry by helping members network and learn from proven professionals. The new leader of the organization, Cal Phelps, looks to take the history of this particular NBBQA and move it to new heights into 2023 and beyond. And they started this year off with a bang at that annual conference out there in Orlando. If you are somebody that is in the business of live fire, in the business of barbecue or grilling, you're a caterer, you want to bring a rub to market, you want to bring a sauce to market, you're a brick and mortar restaurant, you want to start doing mobile business, all that stuff, this is an organization that you want to join and learn from. And I have heard from a number of folks that attended the annual conference a handful of weeks ago that said, hey, things are changing and doing it for the better, and it's happening very quickly now that the organization is under the firm control of Cal Phelps and the folks over at NBBQA. So join now. Take a look at what they're offering on a membership standpoint. And by the way, as they continue to roll out live appearances and different conventions through the course of the year at different locations across the nation, if you can't go to a specific one, if you're a member, they will be videotaping, give you access to audio. So if you miss it, you can get it on replay with your membership. So that's another feature you might want to take advantage of. nbbqa.org is the website. That's nbbqa.org. Learn how approachable the biggest stars in the industry can be. They're members too. nbbqa.org. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Chris Young from Combustion Inc. for joining us last segment and a quarter. Ran a little long with Sam, mashed Chris and Sam together, had some good back and forth there, and then wound out Chris's segment in his allotted time. The website combustion.inc, and doing wireless predictive thermometers. So if you're interested, go ahead and check that out. And we are ready to rock out of here on your late Tuesday, all the way back in the first hour. Malcom Reed joined us in his normal first Tuesday of the month segment, 14 past the hour. HowToBBQRight.com, his website. And after Malcolm, it was Cigar Talk with our official cigar expert of the Barbecue Central show, Mr. Jonathan from the Cigar Authority's podcast. If you are interested in buying online, the number 2guyscigars.com. Check out all the brands that they have and then hook yourself up. Second hour, Sam the Cooking Guy. Shop STCG.com for all of his knives and pans and shirts and all that stuff. Merch, if you will. I think that's what the kids say, merch. And then closing it out, of course, Chris Young from Combustion Inc. Big show planned for you next week. Meathead will be here, amongst many others. We will give you a recap of the 2023 HPB Expo. Of course, if I get any hot audio that it just needs to be broke on the show Tuesday night, I will do that as well. So plenty of great things showing up here. So how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
This is Maddie Rempe from Cleveland, Ohio, and you're listening to Barbecue Central.